At the North Pole, beneath shimmering lights and falling snow, lived an elf named Jingle. He was kind-hearted, curious, and deeply clumsy. All he wanted was to find where he truly belonged. But every role he tried ended in disaster. He broke more toys than he built. A batch of cocoa turned into a peppermint-flavored coughing fit. And once, he blacked out power to the entire Great Hall while stringing Christmas lights. Still, one elf stood by him, Sparkle. She brushed sawdust from his shoulder, calmed his nerves, and reminded him, "It's not about where you start, it's about where you shine." But Jingle didn't feel like he was shining anywhere. His mistakes piled up, and so did his doubts. Eventually, he was reassigned to the reindeer stables, arguably the least glamorous job in the pole. "Reindeer poop," he muttered. But it was quiet, peaceful. The reindeer were kind. He brushed their coats, fed them magic oats, and soon found himself laughing again. Dasher nuzzled his side, Blitzen stole his hat, and for the first time, he felt seen. Santa noticed. "You've done wonderful work here," he told him with a knowing smile. "You're finding your rhythm." One chilly afternoon, tucked behind a haystack, Jingle discovered an old leather harness. Its buckle gleamed with gold. Etched into it were the words, "At the age of understanding, an elf may choose to transform and spread joy in the world beyond." His heart skipped. He ran to Sparkle. "Is this real?" She looked stunned. "It's the legend. No one ever finds it." But Jingle had, and something deep inside whispered, it was meant for him. On Christmas Eve, Santa approached Jingle in the stables. "Would you like to ride with me tonight?" he asked. Jingle blinked. "Me?" Santa nodded. "Just watch the world you've helped brighten." And so they soared, above rooftops and treetops, over glowing towns and slumbering children. Jingle watched in awe. "Santa," he said softly, "can I really become human?" Santa smiled. "You can, but you'll forget this place. You'll forget us. The magic will remain, but the memories will fade." Jingle looked down at the shimmering world, then up at the stars. His voice was quiet but steady. "I'm ready." The next evening, the elves gathered to say goodbye. Lanterns floated above the Great Hall. Sparkle found Jingle beneath the aurora. "What if you forget me?" she whispered. He met her eyes. "I couldn't." She touched his hand. "Even if you do, I'll remember for both of us." Soft music played. They danced, slow and full of silence. Then the roof opened, and a glowing stalk descended from the night sky. Jingle climbed on. Snowflakes danced. Sparkle held back tears. "Goodbye," she whispered. He turned one last time. "Goodbye." And then he was gone, into the stars, carried by the northern lights. The next morning, in a quiet human town, a baby boy was found on a snowy doorstep. His cheeks were rosy. His eyes sparkled. A small note read only, "He was meant for you." The couple didn't ask questions. They just held him close and said, "Welcome home." Each Christmas, a mystery gift appeared. A bell, a sleigh, a pair of mittens stitched with care. The boy never knew who sent them, but every time they made him feel warm and deeply loved. After Jingle left, the North Pole wasn't the same. Sparkle still stitched mittens, passed out cocoa, and greeted every elf with a smile. But inside, something had dimmed. The joy around her felt quieter, like a song missing its melody. She wandered through the stables where he once laughed, the cafe where peppermint cocoa had gone hilariously wrong, the toy floor where his rockets once misfired and filled the rafters with glitter. Everywhere she turned, there were echoes of him. Each year, she stitched a pair of mittens and tied them with gold ribbon. She whispered love into every stitch. Santa delivered them as mystery gifts, left beside a tree in the human world. She never said it aloud, but he knew. Those mittens were for Jingle. Still, her smile became thinner, her spark fainter. One evening, as snow drifted in soft spirals across the sky, Santa found her standing alone beneath the shimmering aurora. "You gave him the courage to follow his heart," he said softly. "Now maybe it's your turn." Sparkle didn't respond at first. Her breath formed soft clouds in the air. "What if I go," she whispered, "and never find him again?" Santa reached into his coat and pulled out a folded piece of parchment, the one Jingle had left behind. Inside were just 4 words: "Thank you for everything." Tears welled in her eyes. That night, she packed nothing. No mittens, no maps, just trust. As the moon rose, a stork bathed in aurora light descended from the sky. Sparkle stepped into the cold, wind tugging at her cloak. She looked up one last time at the pole, the lights, the stars, the only home she'd ever known. Then she climbed on and flew toward a world she'd never seen, and yet somehow already loved. Now human, she grew up in a small snow-covered town with no memories. Not of sleighs, not of Santa, not of the boy she once loved, but something inside her glowed. A feeling, a warmth, a direction. Years later, she opened a little toy shop downtown. Children flocked to her window displays. Miniature sleighs, reindeer made of carved walnut, snow globes that swirled long after being shaken. She filled shelves with tiny trinkets she didn't remember learning to make. But her hands did. At night, she'd sip peppermint cocoa alone, staring out at the snow and wondering what was missing. Then, one December afternoon, she walked into a cafe she'd never visited before. The bell above the door jingled. She paused. Something about the sound made her heart ache in a way she didn't understand. At the counter, a man ordered peppermint cocoa, extra foam. She smiled. "Interesting choice," she said gently. He turned and their eyes met. Time slowed. The room faded. His smile was crooked and warm. "It's an acquired taste," he said. They laughed, like old friends who had forgotten how to greet each other. They sat. They talked for hours. They finished each other's thoughts, laughed at nothing, and somehow remembered things neither of them had lived. "Maybe," she said, "we're all following pieces of ourselves we've lost along the way." They didn't rush, they just fit. A few years later, they watched their children tear through wrapping paper on Christmas morning. Sparkle looked at him, eyes filled with golden light. He was staring into the tree lights, unmoving. "You okay?" she asked. He turned to her, and in that moment, it all shimmered behind his eyes. The pole, the sleigh, the mittens, her. "I'm just happy," he whispered. She took his hand. They never remembered the North Pole, but the love, the magic, the warmth. They had found their way back to each other, in this life, in this world, without needing names or memory to know they were home. Sparkle stepped onto the porch, hot cocoa in hand. She looked up into the morning winter sky. The snow sparkled, and in the stillness she heard it. Soft, distant, carried on the wind, sleigh bells.